All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're unpacking something called the 1H5B Creed. Think of it as an ancient map, one that's designed to help you uncover your true identity and purpose based on a biblical worldview. So let's see what it has to say. You know that feeling, right? That little voice in the back of your head? That sense that there is some untapped potential, a deeper meaning just waiting to be discovered? If you've ever felt that, well, you're definitely not alone. So, the core idea we're digging into today is this. What if most of us are completely underestimating who we really are? This framework suggests that we're not just here to live a random life, but that we were actually created for something extraordinary, with access to some pretty incredible resources we might not even know about. So, here's our game plan for this explainer. We'll start with the big question of identity. Then we'll introduce this map, the 1H5B Creed. We'll break down its key parts, your foundation, your resources, and your mission. And stick around because at the end, we'll show you how to make this personal and actually chart your own growth. Okay, first things first, let's talk about true identity. I mean, if you don't know who you are, it's pretty hard to know where you're going, right? And here's the thing. The problem isn't that we lack potential. Not at all. It's that we often lack awareness of our potential. It's kind of like being a lion who looks in the mirror and only sees a kitten. We can live our whole lives without ever realizing the true strength of our identity and purpose. So, how do we get that awareness? How do we see the lion instead of the kitten? Well, this framework offers us a map, the 1H5B Creed. Okay, so what is this thing? The 1H5B Visionary Creed. Now that name sounds a little technical, but it's really just a handy way to remember 6 pillars. The 1H is for having, and the 5B are for the rest: believing, being, belonging, becoming, and behaving. Just think of them as 6 foundational truths that, when you put them together, give you a really full picture of who you are. So let's start at the beginning, with the absolute bedrock of this whole structure: believing and being. These two are the foundation for everything else. First up, believing. And we're not talking about just wishful thinking here. This is about having deep convictions that are rooted in biblical truths. These beliefs literally become the lens you see the world through, and they shape your entire outlook. This quote from Hebrews really nails it. It paints a picture of belief not as some passive idea, but as an act of trust. It's a conviction that God doesn't just exist, but that He actually rewards people who are genuinely looking for Him. And that leads us right to the next pillar: being. So, if believing is what you hold to be true, then being is who you fundamentally are because of those truths. This is about your core essential identity. And look at the powerful link here in this verse from John. The act of believing leads directly to a new state of being. It says it gives you the right to become children of God. In a world with rigid social structures, that wasn't just a nice title. It was a radical shift in who you were at your very core. Okay, so we've laid our foundation with believing and being. Now let's talk about the resources that are built on top of it: having and belonging. Now this one, having, is a total game changer for a lot of people. It directly attacks that not enough mindset we all get. It's a declaration that you already have all the spiritual and emotional resources you need to live out your purpose. It's a huge shift. And this promise from Philippians is really the cornerstone for having. It helps reframe everything from a perspective of scarcity to one of abundance, trusting that your needs are met from a source that's, well, infinitely rich. The fourth pillar is belonging. You know, it's so easy to feel isolated in this world. This reminds us that we're not alone. We're part of a family, a kingdom that's way bigger than our current circumstances. It gives us this ultimate sense of connection. And this idea of citizenship was huge back then. In the Roman Empire, your citizenship determined your rights, your status, everything. So for this verse to say your true citizenship is in heaven, that was a radical statement about where you ultimately belong. So we've covered our foundation and our resources. Now for the fun part. What do we do with all of it? That brings us to our mission: becoming and behaving. Becoming is all about growth and transformation. It's the idea that life is a journey, that we're always developing and moving toward our full potential. The key here is that it's about progress, not perfection. And what's so great about this verse is the assurance it gives you for that journey. It basically says your growth isn't just a solo project you have to grind out by yourself. It frames it as a divine project that's guaranteed to be finished. And that leads us to our final pillar: behaving. This is where the rubber meets the road. It's how all this identity stuff gets put into practice. It's how your personal vision becomes your mission in the real world.
And honestly, it doesn't get much clearer than this, does it? The ultimate behavior, the end goal of all our actions, is boiled down to these two simple but profound commands. Love God with everything you've got and love others.
Okay, so that's the theory. We've walked through the whole framework, but how do you actually use this for yourself? Let's get practical and make it personal. The process is actually super simple, but really insightful. You take each of those 6 pillars and you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 5. First, how strongly do you believe that truth right now? Then, where would you like to be in the future? And that gap, that space between your now and your future, that becomes your personal roadmap for what to focus on. And here's the simple scale you'd use. 1 is not at all, and 5 is absolutely. The key here is just to be honest with yourself. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just a tool to help you see where you are and where you're headed. So, to wrap it all up, the 1H5B Creed really does 2 incredible things. It acts as a map revealing the truth of who you are, what you have, and where you belong. But it's also a compass that you can use day in and day out to guide your personal journey of becoming and behaving. At the end of the day, this whole thing is more than just information. It's really an invitation. You've seen the map, and you know how to use the compass, so the only question left is, where will your journey take you?